Welcome to Bar None, Thrifty Tips for Boosting Membership and Event Participation for your Voluntary Bar Association. My name is Carrie Heaps and I will be your webinar instructor today. And I'm going to be talking about various tips that you can utilize to boost the membership and get more members for your organization, and to also make sure that you have more people attending your events for your bar association. And this is for bars that have just started and also for voluntary bars that have been running for quite some time and just need to add more members to your organization. So everything I am sharing today is for both established and new bar associations. This is also for all state bar associations, regardless of where you are located. Please take what resonates with you and would help you grow your bar association. And the other ideas you can always shelf for later. There is a handout of 100 different ideas, so you have a link to that as well. It's in the show notes of the video, so you are welcome to check that out at any time. So just a quick outline here of what I'm going to be talking about today. As I said, my name is Carrie Heaps, and I am a CLE provider and speaker, and I speak at various legal associations, and I also teach CLE independently. I am available if you are looking for a speaker, whether it's virtual or in person. So if that is something that would be of interest to you, please let me know. My main topics of education are in the communication industry. So I talk about body language in the courtroom, color in wardrobe, and how you can utilize that as a tool in the courtroom as well, in addition to several other different type of networking and media type classes for attorneys. So I'm going to be sharing a little bit about some growth ideas that you can implement, where you can find venues for your events that are not going to break the bank. If you have a specific budget and you're wanting to stay within that, just some ideas of where you can find some out-of-the-box venue solutions. I'm going to talk about hotels, the pros and cons of that, when it's a good idea to utilize and book a hotel, how you can spend less and do more with your money, a membership drive ideas, and again, why should you listen to me? As I said before, I am a CLE provider. However, in years past, I did work as an independent meeting planner, hosting my own events where I had to book the speakers, find the venue, get butts and seats, sell out vendor, exhibitor, and sponsor space. So I have been in the event arena for quite some time, off and on over the years, and now I just work in the event arena as a speaker. However, a lot of the ideas that I can share with you are things that I've utilized over the years to help establish a good budget and to not overpay in some areas and invest in other areas that you may not be thinking about right now, but will be important later. So just some growth ideas here that I want to share with everyone. And keep in mind, I do have a list of 100 different ideas that you can implement. So you can definitely check that out. I think it's about 4 pages long, the PDF is, and they're just standard ideas. And you can put them in front of your board if you're looking for different ideas to utilize to get more members for your association. So growth ideas such as a podcast or newsletter, or potentially both. If your association does not currently have either one of those, you may want to put this on the table and look at this as an option. This is a great way to unleash creativity within the members of your association with podcasts that pop and newsletters that can just totally rock. And they don't have to be long drawn out podcasts. They can be short and sweet, 15, 20 minutes. And even with the newsletters, 1 page is more than enough. Obviously, with most of your membership being attorneys, you want to be conscientious of time and really just put in the things that people really need to know as a member. What are the updates? What are the events coming up? The one great thing about a podcast or newsletter is that's also a great promotional opportunity for your members to have them on as a quick guest, to do a member spotlight and have them talk about why they got into law, why maybe share a few tips that the other attorneys could benefit from on time management or wellness or stress management. And you can do the exact same thing with your newsletter. Again, this is not something you need to have a design background in. This is something that you can utilize in Microsoft Word. You could do this in Publisher if you needed to do that, or Canva, or even just a simple typing it out in Word and just putting it in an email newsletter format based on whichever type of email provider you're using, whether that is Email Octopus or if it's Salesforce, whatever your chapter may be using, or it could be Wild Apricot. I've noticed that a lot of law firm associations are utilizing Wild Apricot. So you could just copy and paste and put everything in there, add a few pictures, and click send. So the reason this can help you with growth is that if you're utilizing this and adding it as a benefit that you could be featured, or each member does get featured as a new member, welcome aboard, and doing like a feature interview, this could be a value added benefit for especially solo entrepreneurs or solopreneur attorneys that are on their own, that really have to do a lot of their own marketing. This could be a huge thing for them. Local business perks. So look to the local businesses within your area. Now, if you are a voluntary bar association that is part of the fall chapters, perhaps, and most of your members are female attorneys, then you could look at, okay, what do we have in the area as far as spas, massage therapy, maybe art classes or dance classes that you could utilize to go to them and say, hey, we have this association. Would you like to offer a discount to our members? Now, a lot of businesses will agree to do this and not charge you anything, but you do have to call them and ask. Or pop in, if you're right down the road from somebody and you just stop into a dance studio or a yoga studio to say, hey, we've got, 20 members, we're really growing. We would love to add you to our local business perks and list you on the site as giving a discount for our members. And usually they'll oblige. Sometimes it'll be 10%, sometimes 20%. Some places will give you a visit for free first. So you don't even have to really create a card, but if you wanted to create like a membership card, if you are utilizing Wild Apricot, there is a space in there where you can go in and you can create a membership card for them to print out, or you could print it out for them and mail it to them or give it to them at the next event. And that is something that they could show to the local business. But I would recommend looking for at least 5 or 6 of these, and you might find others that will do the same thing. Print shops, clothing stores. For those of you who have more male members, there are cigar shops, there are golf memberships, or even fitness or sports stores that will do the exact same thing. Get really creative. If a lot of your members have families, if they're married and they have children, whether they're male or female, then you could go to different places that cater to kids or that have activities for children to do as well. So just really look at your membership base of who has been joining. And just kind of look around and go, okay, maybe a lot of the women would benefit from a discount on professional clothing or something of that nature. So just think in terms of what do you have available in your local area. Also, if you are starting a new voluntary bar association, or you're your membership's really been dwindling and you've got to restart that, I also recommend for websites to look at Wild Apricot, and I will have a link in there too in the show notes if you'd like to check that out. So Wild Apricot I've used off and on for several years. A lot of the voluntary bar associations use this in many states. So most attorneys are pretty familiar with it. It's very user friendly, and if they're part of another voluntary bar association that uses it, they can log in, and they have pretty much an easy time navigating around the site. And you can do a membership card there, a virtual card, one they can print out. So there's a lot of different options with that. They also you can do fundraising events through that. You can host all of your events in there. You can have a private member directory. So there's just a lot of different really great benefits with Wild Apricot. So the next on my list is Legal Business Accelerator. Provide resources and mentorship for members to grow their practice. Now, this can really come from potential sponsors for your association that can turn into vendors for any upcoming bigger events that you may have, like a day event or a half-day event that you might want to do in the future. So you want to look towards legal marketing companies. Anybody who markets to attorneys, so insurance brokers. Let's see, you could go to private trainers, car dealerships. There's just a lot of different places that you could go that would also be able to provide resources or like maybe, just different experiences for them. As far as mentorship is concerned, you definitely want to look towards more legal marketing companies that could potentially help them with their marketing if that's what they're looking for. Or you could also go to a legal coaching service or legal staffing firm for people who are looking to kind of grow their staff and they want to add different people onto their staff. So you could kind of look at this as a way for them to get a little bit of mentorship and coaching, and also a way for that company on the flip side to be able to get a little bit of extra exposure to the members. The next thing here that's a good growth idea, and again, these are all things that you can list as member benefits once you get them started. And not all of these are going to work for every single chapter. Clearly, you got to, again, pick the ones that would work best for you and your members and start to develop those ideas. The next one here on the list is Meet the Media, where you can actually train members to get featured in publications or podcast or TV interviews on a local scale. So for example, for your chapter, you could invite a member of the media to one of your upcoming lunch events and just have them meet the other members, maybe take some photos, potentially get an article written, or just to have like a feature. To let them know that you're here as a resource as well is a really good thing to do. Any local reporters that whether it's for a local business journal or your local newspaper or the local TV station or radio station, these are all really great people to invite. And when you start doing this, where if you have one coming every quarter or one coming every other month or something like that, then you know that that's a benefit that they can count on because they're going to be meeting members of the media. And usually with that, you can just, talk with them, maybe do just a little bit of training with them to say, hey, here's how you would want to pitch to this person. Next week, we have this particular reporter coming that works with the Business Journal, and they're always looking for stories on, the legals part of the paper, or they're looking for stories that reflect on the local community. And, if you have a pitch to give them, now would be the time to do that. You can even ask, a lot of times these reporters will even come and just offer some tips to your members, just to let them know, hey, if you are going to be submitting a pitch, this is what we look for. This is how it should be formatted. Believe it or not, lots of media members are very much attuned to wanting to help the public in how to present to them because it makes their job easier. I actually sit on a panel for Quoted, which it's myself and several other media outlets that I have a podcast, so I get to sit on this, but we do kind of talk about different ideas that can be translated over into the people who are pitching to us so they are doing it the correct way. So their pitches don't get ignored. So they're getting more exposure at that point. So they're always more than happy to talk to your members as well. And it doesn't have to be a full-blown talk, but just something where it could be a Q&A. But if you did that maybe once a quarter or even twice a year, that's another great benefit for your potential members. Client referral network. You could create an internal platform for members to refer clients to one another. And again, this really depends on the website you have and the site software that goes along with it. That's why when I mentioned before about Wild Apricot, that's really a great software for you to utilize, because you actually have that capability where members, when they log in, they can see the other members, they can send emails, they can operate in forums or post in forums. They can email one another and, connect actually through the site without doing it publicly. So that's another benefit of, it's not just being listed in the directory, but it's being able to network with the other members of the directory as well. So I want to talk briefly about venues. Excuse me. So if you are at that point where you're doing lunch events every month, and maybe you're also going to be looking at doing some bigger events as the year progresses, and you're going to need a bigger venue, or maybe your chapter is growing and you can no longer meet at the restaurant or at the country club of where you're at, and you're going to have to start looking for a new place where you can have the members come and have their lunches included and have space for a speaker and all of that. So just some ideas here for other venues. And again, you want to look in your local area. Try to think outside the box with some of these ideas, because everyone wants to gravitate towards a hotel. And there's a time and a place to have an event at a hotel. And it's usually when you are going to have a larger event, speakers are going to be there. Maybe it's going to be a half day event or a full day event, and there's going to be lots of CLE. You're going to have some, breakfast is served, lunch is served, and you're going to have speakers and networking all the way up until maybe 4 or 5 o'clock. Then yes, a hotel would make the most amount of sense. However, there are other options here. So as we're looking at this, we have law schools, partner with universities for meeting space. Every single college or law school that you have within your community is going to have some type of private event space that they do rent out, and it's actually cheaper and just as nice as a ballroom at a hotel, but you're going to get it for a cheaper price. So what you want to do is if you approach the law schools, there should be a meeting space or an exhibitor space there that you could go to. Usually with the local colleges, they're going to have a continuing education or a distance learning center, and that would be the best place for you to start. And you would be surprised, the rates are going to be so much better. They usually do have on-site catering, or they have a catering company that they're going to want you to deal with. And same thing, they're going to usually have better rates than what you would find at a specific hotel. So that should be one of the first places that you look. The courthouses. A lot of courthouses will have conference rooms or auditoriums. Not all of them, but some of them do. And because you are an attorney, you should be able to go there and view the space and rent it out. It's usually not available to the public side, but usually for attorneys, it's usually available. And if it's for a voluntary bar association, they should be pretty open to having you come there and at least meet and try it out. Now, co-working spaces, they usually have flexible meeting rooms. These will be for really probably smaller events, but sometimes the co-working spaces can have a larger space, like maybe like one floor of the building. You kind of have to call around and see. But if you already know of a place that has something like that, where they could fit up to 60, 70 people, maybe 80, it would be worth your time checking into that and just seeing what the rates are. And what are the rules regarding food, especially if you're doing lunch events? If there's a specific vendor they want you to use, and find out who they are, get a pricing menu, because you need to factor that into your pricing as well. Private clubs, there's obviously country clubs, there's business clubs. There's also different places that you could go, that you could actually rent, that do sometimes theater rentals. That you'll see, not for the movie theaters, but for example, like Lou Gardens in Orlando is a great example of this. They host different events there. They have different types of meeting and exhibitor space. And they also have, again, different places where you can go to, like, here's 3 different choices you have for catering that you can utilize, and then that's it. So think outside the box of where you've seen events and where you've seen weddings at. And if you are at a wedding or somebody, just had a wedding locally, find out where they had it at, because sometimes weddings will have, they'll get hosted at different places, not at a hotel, but like just sort of a different arena that you may not have thought of. And if they do weddings there, they will also do private events too. So that's another place to check out. Libraries. So reserve conference rooms for community engagement. There's a lot of libraries that do have conference rooms, and some of them have larger event space. And some of the city that you're located in should have a conference center. For example, in Jacksonville Beach, there's a really nice conference room center that you can do they have conference rooms, 2 or 3 separate ones, but they also have like a huge room that you could host exhibitor space, have, speakers set up, and have like a huge event there and have a few hundred people. And again, it's very inexpensive. So again, think outside the box. Museums, cultural centers are, those are pretty unique centers, but sometimes they have space that you could utilize weekly. And, again, it's just a different place to go. Breweries and wineries are another one, but they're more for casual networking, but sometimes they'll let you come and meet there weekly. Like they'll give you a very inexpensive rate to use, and they might have catering available, or again, same thing, they might let you bring catering in from the outside. So just think in terms of what's around you. The other thing I want you to consider with a lot of these, out of the box places like this, look at their parking and ask them, hey, we do our lunch event. It's usually we're here from like 11:30 to 1. Is the parking, is it pretty open like it is now? Could you accommodate 70 cars if you needed to? So definitely ask questions about parking. Theaters and performing arts centers, high schools, for example, have these particular locations. Some of them will rent to the public, some will not. But for example, if you have a member that maybe has 2 kids at one of the schools, because they're a parent, they might be able to rent that space. So again, you got to think outside the box. Ask questions of your other board members and find out what associations, that they're members of, that, you could possibly utilize. Corporate offices, again, you could partner with the bigger law firms for, not just for sponsors, but maybe to also sponsor space. I spoke at an event in Miami, and that was, it was in an industrial park. It was close to, where I guess the boats, the cruise ships come in. And the firm that did it, their office space was in that arena. They actually had a huge conference center that anybody that had office space within that whole complex could rent that conference center, and you could bring in whatever lunch or whatever it is, like outside catering. And it was huge. It was very nice. So again, think outside the box with that. Outdoor parks and gardens are ideal for like wellness and casual outdoor events. So if you're planning any of those, like a wine tasting or just an outside networking event, those are good to look at. Historic buildings, they can add prestige and ambiance, and you could usually get those at a pretty decent rate. I went on a tour in St. Augustine, and they were actually talking about, I think it was part of the Ripley's Museum. They were talking about, they had part of the building that it was closed. It was a night tour, but they said that was open for venues for people to come, and people got married there, people did events there, and I would have never thought to even think about something like that or to even call a company like that, but they have that space available. Sporting arenas and suites, again, you can combine networking with entertainment. Some places it's just going to be more appropriate for kind of an out of the box get together. Community centers, again, like I said before, check for your city and county. They always have some type of community center, and you can usually get those pretty inexpensively. Galleries and art studios are another one. They would love to have you come in because it's a great way to get foot traffic in the door. That can be for creative, engaging atmosphere. Again, just kind of maybe an after hours event or something on the weekends for your members. And then yacht clubs and marinas, upscale networking by the water. And again, some of them do have different conference rooms that you could rent out even for your lunch event. So depending upon what you're trying to do, if it's your monthly event that you do or biweekly event, if you're looking for new space, or just to have some different ideas of, hey, we're thinking about having a wine tasting or a painting party, or we'd like to have everybody go to an art show, or we're doing a fundraiser. These are just some different ideas for venues that you can utilize and just, again, have in your back pocket for future reference. Now, with hotels, when you should and should not consult with a hotel for meetings and events. Now, and do you need a meeting planner? So there's two things to this. First and foremost, I'm going to answer the last question first. Do you need a meeting planner? That really depends. You need to look at where your chapter is. If your chapter is really growing, you have over 100 members, you get a couple new members every month, and it's getting bigger and bigger, and you're starting to do more extravagant events. Maybe you're doing a one-day expo or a one-day intensive where you have CLE, you're bringing in speakers, or maybe it's a 3-day event that you're wanting to do, or you're going to do a couple of those every year. Then it makes sense to at least engage with a meeting planner, interview them, see what components of the job they can do. Obviously, being part of the Voluntary Bar Association, the executive board, that's a voluntary position for everybody, and everybody's busy running their law firm. Everybody has a personal life outside of that. And then, of course, there are the responsibilities of being on the committee. And not everybody has time for that, unfortunately. So if you are growing and your chapter is in, a good financial standing, it might make sense to engage a meeting planner. What can a meeting planner typically do? So a meeting planner can typically take over the aspect of hosting, like just planning the event, whether that is a monthly luncheon event that you're doing to make sure that the catering is done, to do a head count, to make sure that people have RSVP'd, they've registered, sending out the appropriate information, being there the day of the event to make sure whoever your guest speaker is there, coordinating the speakers and engaging them and getting all of the talent and education lined up for the year. Scouting for venues if you have to do those bigger events, and making sure you're getting the absolute best deals. Ensuring that if you do settle on a venue, you're getting the group rate for the hotel, that you're getting a good rate, that you're not overpaying, that you're not getting too close to that attrition rate, to where that can really turn into a disaster. Making sure that the catering is all done, to ensure that the day of the event, that everything flows smoothly, that, helping people get a good rate for a rental car, or getting a discount for the airlines, making sure that your members have all of that available to them if this is something that you're doing at a different location. And then just being there the day of the event to run it, to make sure everything is going smoothly, from the registration table to announcing speakers to getting the next speaker, to making sure that all of the exhibitor tables are set up correctly, that all of the exhibitors are in their spot, that there's no problems. They're handling all of that, to ensure that the breakfast is served on time, that lunch is served on time, that everything stays to the schedule, and even after the fact, to ensure that everything is done appropriately for invoicing and closeout and all of that. So those are the types of things that a meeting planner can do for you. They can do more depending upon how much you're wanting done. They can be completely, uh, hands-on and taking care of everything, or working in conjunction with the board. They can do either or. They do charge a fee for that typically, so it always pays to interview five or six meeting planners, and see what they charge, what they do, what their specialty is. Some of them have worked in the hotel industry, so they kind of know that in and out more than somebody who's worked in the catering side. So they're usually full circle. They do all of it, but you'll find that most of them will have a certain specialty that they deal with. So it always helps just to, it doesn't cost anything to engage, see what it's about, see what their fees are, and then have a conversation with your board to say, hey, we should do this. We're at this level where we can afford to pay this person to do it. Let's take it off of our plate and let them handle it. You could even do a test, test out on one event. That's pretty normal too. Have them just do one of the events, and if you like what they've done, great, then you can engage them again. So I would not do it early on. If you're trying to grow your membership and you're at 30 members, it does not make sense for you to do that. You want to get to be at least to 100 members and growing consistently. Then that's really when you want to look at engaging one. Now, with hotels, when you should and should not consult with the hotel. If it's a monthly or weekly lunch event that you have and you are under, let's say, 70 people, I would say don't engage with the hotel. Try to find either a restaurant that's larger, or try to find one of the different venues, because that's going to be a little bit more cost conscientious for you, rather than going to a hotel. Now, if you are getting to, you're at 70, 75 members, then yeah, it makes sense to start scouting some of the hotels. See what their menus are like, see what room you could be in, just to kind of check that out. And if it makes sense and you're seeing that, okay, yeah, we can do this, and it's only going to be, right now everybody's paying, $25 per person for their lunch, and this is going to bring it up to 30 or 35. Could we absorb that cost, or, what can we do to, maybe get like a different, or just to let everybody know that you're going to be raising the cost of the lunch, or try to stay within the same realm, or have a little bit more, but to let everybody know, hey, we're going to have more parking, there's going to be a different benefit to this, or we're going to be able to grow more, by making that move. So I would just say, think in terms, because it's always going to cost more, once you go to a hotel. Normally they're going to let you have the room for free, but the reason they're going to do that is because they're going to be charging you per person, and you could pick like, like a sandwich luncheon, or a chicken or pasta type thing. So they're going to be charging more per person. I would say average probably about $25 to $30 per person. And that should be with tax and tip. So, again, you're probably going to get the same amount at a restaurant, what people are going to be, you're passing that cost on to your members usually. So just keep that in mind. I mean, if it's a huge jump where it's coming up to like $35, $40 per person, then you want to hold off on that, or just find another hotel, because I don't know, a lot of times that's a huge jump, and sometimes members just may not even come if it's going to be that much. So just keep that in mind. Now, if you're looking at doing like maybe your first half day event, because you want to do something a little bit more, or like a membership drive event for, you're going to do a membership drive, and you're going to have everybody, bring an additional member, then it makes sense to engage a hotel. Okay. Like maybe have it start in the morning, have coffee served and like a continental breakfast, and then have a few speakers, and then have lunch served, and then it's just networking till like 1 o'clock. That way everybody's getting some CLE, and everybody kind of gets a chance to do some networking, and it really makes it a little bit more exciting for the potential members to get them to join your chapter. So that would make sense to have a hotel, or like a full day event, because they're usually going to have the space available, and usually, a restaurant's not going to be able to accommodate that. And you want to make sure that you have good AV, you've got, the microphone, the podium, all of that, because especially if you're going to have presenters, and your hotels are going to be the best bet for that. And then usually too, they're going to have ample parking. So as people are inviting other people to come to this event, then you have that opportunity to not have to turn anybody away because there's no parking or they can't find any parking and then they just leave. So I would say just look at what you're trying to do, and if it's a growth event like a membership drive, it's worth looking into. As your chapter's growing for like a monthly or bi-monthly meeting, you should be at 75 to 80 members. I would say anything less than that, stay at wherever you are and find, until you get to those numbers. So spending less, we definitely want to make sure that we are budgeting our event budget and not overspending. Like I said before, like with hotels, a lot of times you're going to find that the hotels are going to be charging more for food. If you don't need to be spending more for food on an event, then great, you don't want to do that. On the monthly meetings, again, you want to make every dollar count. So try to stay at the restaurants, try to ensure that you are getting the most for your money. And make sure to, I've seen a lot of bar associations that will have an event at like a really nice place, and they're spending the bulk of their event budget on the food and the service and the staff, and the venue, rather than putting it back into growing the chapter. And now what I mean by that is, for example, a lot of times, I speak at a lot of different voluntary bar associations. So try to make sure that you have some type of budget to pay an outside speaker. Doesn't have to be a whole lot, myself included. I understand for a voluntary bar association, especially for a local lunch event that they're doing once a month, they are not going to have my full speaker fee. I know that. But having something between like $250 to $500 to pay for an outside speaker to come in, it gives the opportunity for it. It can be a better use of money, because a lot of times when you bring in an outside speaker, like maybe a wellness expert or somebody who can give stress management techniques, or a yoga expert that's going to show you different things that the attorneys can do, where they could get some wellness credit, potentially wellness CLE, where they can learn how to manage their stress better, or I speak on body language. It's kind of an out of the box topic that's not your traditional what they're seeing all the time. Okay. So when you invest in a speaker like that to come in, or even like a legal marketing firm to come in and have them, share about, hey, these are some things you should be doing. Or even talking about like, hey, you want to start your own firm? Great. Here are the different things that you need to be doing. So just some out of the box experiences for them, other than the standard, everybody's, kind of bringing in a different CLE and they're talking. And the reason I say this is because sometimes when we have things happen, when you show up where you're not expected, magical things can happen, not just for the person speaking, but also for the people who are listening. And a lot of times when you have something that's a little bit different and you're advertising that, people are sharing it on social media about, oh, hey, come to our next voluntary bar association event. This week's speaker is going to be, and you fill in the blank, Bob, who's going to, show us all some ultimate stress techniques, or stress management techniques, or time management techniques for attorneys. It's something different. And sometimes that's enough for them to say, hey, I need to go to this, or I need to check this out. So a lot of times, if you're able to pay that person to come in and speak, again, it's that money is being allocated because you're going to see a bigger return. And keep in mind too, when you do that, when you have a speaker who is paid versus non-paid, they're going to help promote it more. They're going to be, telling people about it too. So sometimes you're going to have people who will show up that are like, hey, I'd like to join this bar. They might not be an attorney, but they do service the legal community. And, it's just a great way to also get more people there. The more people that are there, the better. Events are always better when you have a lot of people there. So that sometimes is a better allocation of the budgeting. The other thing is too, is with like, for example, a membership drive, okay? Membership drives are things that, when you're doing a membership drive, this could be at your regular lunch meeting that you're going to, hey, we're doing a membership drive and it's going to be on this date. So we want everybody to bring 2 people or 2 other attorneys or 1 other person. If everybody in the room brings 1 person, that's going to be 30 new people. So they can come and check out our chapter. We'd love to have them join, but we're doing a membership drive. So that means if they join that day, we're doing X, Y, and Z. Okay. So a membership drive is really where you also want to kind of put a little bit of money behind it as well. Now, this is more for maybe doing a giveaway, like the day of the membership drive. Maybe it's at the end of the month and you've told all of your members, hey, we're doing a membership drive. We really want to increase our membership by 20%, or at least get 10 new members, whatever the goal may be. And we really need everybody to bring, invite whoever you can, but we would love for you to bring 1 person that's a non-member to, come and join us and check out our chapter, and, do up a flyer where you have like maybe the day of the membership drive, maybe the event's a little bit longer. And you have, there's so many different, and the list that I have were 100 ideas. There's a lot of ideas on there that can be utilized for a membership drive. But to give you a few examples, one thing you could do, lawyers always need new headshots. You could have a photographer there that, you could let the photographer know, hey, look, why don't we do, if you can do 20 people or 20 different headshots, we're going to pay for the first 10 or 15, or just charge all the members, hey, you can have new headshots done and it's $25, but the bar is actually going to make up the difference for what would be paid, whatever's in the budget. So you could do that, because that way it's a great way for everybody to get, make sure that they're there, that they're getting their photos done. And, the new people too, same thing, they can get their headshots done for $20 or whatever, or just allocate that to, if, the non-members, if they do sign up to become a member, then they're only paying $25. Otherwise it's $100 or something like that. So it's an incentive for them to join that day, but let them know on the flyer, obviously, that you're going to be doing this. So that way they know. You could also do things like, you could have a, color analysis is another great thing. It is a little bit more time consuming, but again, just having something a little bit outside the box. You could have everything from, like it could be wellness related. Maybe it's going to be a wellness and health related membership drive. So you're going to have a yoga person there doing like yoga sessions. You could have a massage therapist there, doing 10 or 15-minute massages that could be free for members. But again, if they're a non-member, they need to join to get that. But they need to join that day. Or you could also have, for example, like with the photographer, if they can't do their headshots that day, then guess what? You get that's same discounted rate, and you have 30 days to use that with the photographer. You could work something out with whoever you bring in, but allocating some of that budgeting for something like that, where they're getting a really good deal, where if they wanted to go and have a massage with this person, it would normally be $75, but they can get it for 10, or they can get it for 15. That's great for the massage therapist, because again, they're getting paid from the person, but they're also getting a check from the bar to kind of make up that difference. And you can negotiate with them and say, hey, look, we're probably going to have 50 people here. What could be a discounted rate you could charge us? Because these could be repeat people for you. It's not always as expensive as we think it's going to be. So you could do it as a themed event. Again, it could be something with stress management. It could be something to do with marketing or growth or image, like I said, with doing a photo shoot. So there's lots of different ideas, but you want to have a couple of things that you're doing on that membership drive day that's going to get people in the door to come and check out your event. The other thing I recommend with the membership drive is you definitely want to have a good hook for a speaker for that CLE. Whether that is a tech class, a tech credit, or it's a ethics or maybe a professionalism credit or a wellness credit, something that they're not going to always normally get. I see a lot of times where people will get their classes for the group accredited, it's general credit. Try to get something specific that, again, is going to be more meaningful. And a lot of times speakers, if they've already been doing some CLE, they might already have some classes that are accredited for that could fit into that 50-minute time frame or half hour time frame. So keep that in mind too, but definitely have, that hook for the CLE, the hook for, hey, I need to get new headshots done anyway, or I need, whatever headliner you're going to have, but have it as a themed event around your membership drive. Like if they join today, these are the things that they're getting. And then lastly, I would say with the membership drive, you want to do some type of giveaway for the people who come that day and sign up. Do some type of giveaway. Now, this could be something that is, and it doesn't have to have anything to do with being a lawyer. It could just be like a really cool giveaway. It could be a gift basket. It could be a gift certificate or a gift card. It could be a multitude of things. I mean, you just have to kind of think in terms of your members, who's typically joining and what are some of the things that they like. So it doesn't always have to be one big gift. You could have 4 or 5 different things that you're raffling off that day. It's for new members only. So, again, they have to join that day. And then you could have the raffle at the end or right afterwards and then email everybody. But usually when you're doing some type of giveaway, that also gets people, it piques their interest more. It makes it a fun event. It makes it a nice stepping away from the office and, hey, this was really fun. Okay. So put a little thought into it. You can get really creative. There's just a lot, and it could be a car wash. It could be a personal chef to come in and cook. It could be like I said, a cleaning service. It could be dance lessons. There's so many different things that it could be. You could even have like a local dance studio come in and do, again, this fits in their stress and wellness, and have them come in and do a salsa lesson or a tango lesson. And hey, they're coming to the studio, you get your first lesson free or secondly, whatever, like they'll work something out with them. So there's lots of different things you can do to get creative with that. So again, just some things that you might want to think about, think what you have available in your community, what your members like, and how you want to do that. But I always suggest asking all of your members, help each one reach one, have every member, if you can just bring one person, let us know who you invited, who's coming, if they've already paid through the website or are they paying at the door. We would love to have them join us. The goal with the membership drive is you want to at least increase it by 10%. So if you have 50 members, by the end of this, you want to have at least 5 joining. And you'll find that these are easy to do. And if you did this once a quarter, I mean, that's 20 new members a year. You're going to be growing and growing, and which is amazing. The more members you have that are paying those membership dues and that are participating in the events, the more the budgeting, you have more money to do more things, to bring in more continuing legal ed, to offer them more benefits. There's just a lot of things that you can do once the ideas start to flow. But again, you don't feel like you have to spend a lot of money to do it. You can get creative. You really can. You can get very creative with a lot of these things. So again, just talking a little bit more about these membership drive ideas. I do have a list. Again, that list the link to it is in the show notes below this video, and it's a Google Docs or PDF, but it's in Google Docs. So you can look at it at the PDF, you can print it out. There's 100 different ideas on there, and it doesn't all have to be for membership drives. It could just be for separate events, however you'd like to use it. Not everything on that list will resonate with everybody, so take what works for you and just flush the rest. Again, you could have a color analysis day. This is something that's really important. You would definitely want to have a professional do it, have an image consultant come in. They do charge for that service, but that is something that is value added. Photo shoots. Again, strike a pose and attract members with irresistible photo shoots. You could do those a couple times a year, because I always recommend to attorneys have new photos done at least once a year. I think every 6 months, but try to do it at least once a year. You could do spa days, yoga sessions, massage therapy, have a wellness day like I talked about before. But there's several other ideas on my ideas PDF, so that is my free gift to you. And I do hope what I have shared today helps you as far as getting the word out, getting different ideas, and helping you just with growing your chapter and getting new members in the door, and kind of helping you a little bit with the venues as well. I do have another video on the different things that you can do for different event ideas for if you do like the larger events. So I'll have a link to that. You can watch that next if you'd like, but I hope you will subscribe to the channel. And also too, as I said before, if you are looking for a CLE speaker, I would love to have a conversation with you and see what value I can bring to your event. And if you do have any questions, or if there's anything that you really liked about this video, I hope you will comment below.